Hello, good evening. How are you? Jessica here from Fluence Children's Center. Sorry, it's been a long day. Speech language pathologist, and I just wanted to pop in and give you a quick little tip on how to work on language expansion for some of your kiddos. So language expansion refers to, kind of like the name implies, expanding language. So if we've got a kid who is maybe consistently using one word or two word phrases, and you'd like to help them expand it to whatever's more age appropriate, 3 or 4 word phrases, even longer than that, you could also look at working on language expansion to include more grammatical morphemes, such as pronouns, plurals, different verb tenses like ing and things like that. And I just wanted to share some tools that I use with my kiddos in practice that's been pretty useful, and it's super simple to make. So the first one that I wanted to share is for a little older kids, but also if you're working with some maybe like 4 or 5 year olds that are working on some pronouns such as he, she, they, things like that, and they need more of a visual cue, then this is something that might be useful for you. What I find a lot of times is if we just rely on auditory or speaking cues, we run into kids who will only imitate the words that you say. And so when you're to the point where you want to move them to more independent skills, for instance, you might say something like, he has a, and you pause in hopes that they'll fill it in or in hopes that they'll imitate, he has a dog. Whatever the case is, what you'll get a lot of times are kids who will just say, he has a, and they'll pause too. So what we can do is help them by giving them some tools other than just our speech that can help them to be more independent with their use of language. So here is one quick thing that I created, and I seriously just looked on Google for some quick pictures. I typed up some sentences in a Word document, and it might be showing up backwards for you, so I apologize, but you could probably figure it out. It says, he has a blank, she has a blank, they have a blank. And I just put some visuals for the kids who may not be reading yet, but it's always nice to pair a written word with a picture. So this can help with language expansion, especially if you're working on has and have, which I highlighted. It's nice if that's something that you're working on to make it a different color to draw more attention to that, so that your kiddos can clearly see what it is that you're working on. And it might start by you just reading it and having them imitate. You could also, I left this space pretty big so that you could put a picture here or an object here. So if you're using flashcards, or if you just print a bunch of other types of pictures that you want to work on with your child, or if you've got an object a small little object that you want to put here, and then after they kind of learn the pattern, you can just start pointing to the words and having them say it, so that you don't always have to prompt them with your voice. Again, the goal being to move towards more independent use of their own language. So that's one example. That's super simple. Another one, kind of a similar one, but working on a different type of morpheme. So this one's working on what we call, the fancy word is present progressive verbs. So verbs that end in ing. So again, he is swimming, he is walking, she is blank, they are blank. So this one's working on both pronouns and those present progressive verbs. But again, there's enough space where you can put in a picture of a boy running. You can, I laminated it, so you can even use like a whiteboard eraser marker and draw a picture if you're that talented. I'm not, but I know many of you are. So lots of different options on things that you can do. And again, super simple to make on Word. If you don't have a laminator, don't even stress. Like, you can just either print it on a thicker paper, or sometimes people will paste this to like a manila folder just so it has a little bit more thickness, so that when you're using it, it's not so flimsy, but whatever works for you. So those are 2 examples. And then another really simple one. So sometimes the problem that I run into with language expansion is, say they've got those down and you want to move on to more complex sentences, or you're not even at that level yet and you just want them to imitate, 2 or 3 word phrases, but you don't want to have to write out or type out or draw out every single type of sentence. What I use is this. I call it a pacing board. There's lots of different names for it. I use it for a lot of different things, but when it comes to language expansion, especially if kids are dropping off words or not including all the words in the sentence, what I'll do is, depending on how long the sentence is, so say it's a 3-word sentence, I might just fold it back like this, or cover up to show them that visually I want them to use 3 words in their sentence. So it may be, I want bubbles. If your kid is just saying bubbles or want bubbles, I would model it for them first. I want bubbles. And then I have them point to it. I might even do like I want, and then have them say bubbles by themselves, or just do the pointing depending on what level they are. But this is a simple way that you can do lots of different things with. And again, this is literally just a piece of cardstock that I drew and colored and laminated. Other uses for this could be some articulation things, which I'll talk about in another video, but for longer multisyllabic words, kids often drop off syllables, so they might say butterfly instead of butterfly. So I'll tap out butterfly. It's another way, again, to not just rely on spoken and auditory cues, but also to give them a visual to pair with it, which a lot of our kids prefer in terms of a learning modality, and it helps them to just get more support and more input on that. So that's my little tip for today on language expansion. I would love to see what you guys come up with and create. These are, again, just simple things, and you can literally put anything in here. A lot of people will start off by using like a I want, and you can even just use 1 sentence at a time. You don't have to put 3. So lots of different ideas and ways to get creative depending on what your child is working on, but hope that was helpful. I will see you guys next Tuesday for another quick tip. Have a good night. Bye.